So do you hate government? You're not alone. Let's get started. So I may have mentioned in a video or two that we own a motel. We own a very small mom and pop country motel with an attached dwelling unit, as that is what it says actually on the deed or the property or whatever the municipality has logged us in as. You know, we have a commercial property with a small or maybe just attached dwelling unit. It's small though. So our motel has 11 units, and our house on the property, it's 1.85 acres. Nothing, ginormous. We're not talking the Best Western here. And because we are a country property, we have a well, because we're not on any town or city municipality water, and we have our own septic system as well. So we bought this property back in 2012 in February, and sometime that fall, somebody from the public health unit showed up at the door saying that they've never had a water sample history with our property, even though the other owners have had this place for like 40 years. Not sure how they get away with that, considering I believe the Ontario Small Water Works program has been in effect since, I wanted to say 2010 at least. Could have been before that. I'd have to look that up. But it's been in place for a while before we actually got this property. So I'm not sure how the previous owners got away with not complying, but apparently they did. So anyway, she told us that we had to, because there was no history, that we would have to go every 2 weeks to get our water tested, as if it would even change in 2 weeks. We had to do that for 6 weeks total, so 3 times we had to go. And because we couldn't take it to the public health lab where it's free to get your water tested, we had to take it to a private lab. We paid about $100 to register with them and $50 a sample. And so that was a bit pricey. When we weren't making very much money when we first moved here, we had a lot of expenses with the place is a bit run down. We've done a lot of work to it since then. So, that was a nice little hit we didn't need. And she told us that once she had the sample history that we'd be able to reduce the frequency to every 2 years. So a little bit of time goes by. So that's the fall of 2012. So in 2014, in February, I got a letter. I believe it was a letter. We didn't have email contact back then. And they were threatening us that if we didn't comply with their, prescribed frequency or whatever, that we would, be charged some ridiculous amount, like $25,000. And I don't know, it was just something outrageously ridiculous for non-compliance. So I don't know if she actually called that time or we got something in the mail, but I said, well, I thought you said we would be able to reduce the frequency to every 2 years after she got the sample history. So apparently that's not really what she meant. She said reducing the sample history could go as far as every 2 years, but that's not what she wanted. So after we did it like for 6 weeks, every 2 weeks getting it sampled, she never gave us any more direction. So now she's saying we have to go 4 times a year. So we were going, January, April, July, October kind of thing. So we did that for a couple of years, and we've never had anything wrong with our water. Nothing. This is the water I drink every day. I make ice with it, and I drink it. It's delicious water. I actually became a water snob. I refuse to drink the water at work now because it's in the city, and it's chlorinated and fluorinated and all kinds of other added stuff with all kinds of junk in it. I can't stand the taste of it. So now I only use, our well water. I used to take over 2 liters of 2 liters of water to work every day because I couldn't stand drinking that water. Now I drink a lot more coffee, so maybe, taste of the coffee drowns out the taste of the, chloride and fluoride and all that fun stuff. So anyway, last week, September 24th, I guess it was, we got a call from the public health unit again, saying that they hadn't been out in a while. Yeah, 4 years is a bit of a time, yeah. And they wanted to talk to us about doing, I don't remember what story she spun for me for her reason to come out here. But she wanted to look at our well and whatever. Oh, the other thing was, when the girl first came out, our well cap was not a sealed unit. So she was afraid that the kids could lift it off and vermin could fall in or something like that, right? So we had got the proper well cap for our drilled well. This is a drilled well, and I actually don't even know how deep it is. Previous owners couldn't remember, so we have like, let's see, there's 7 of us and about 14 people in the motel. And even in the driest summers, which 2012 was actually very dry, we've never even had anything like running dry. And I mean, I'm doing laundry and everything too, right? And dishwasher. So lots of stuff running, never even remotely running dry. So our well is actually quite deep. So she came out, she took a water sample, and she wanted to see where the well was. That's fine. She asked about where our septic was, which is nowhere near the well. It's on the other side of the property. She also went around looking at her swimming pool. Odd, since she's here about drinking water. Anyway, she's public health, and I guess she felt like she had, reasonable rights to come on our property and do whatever she wanted. So then we get this letter from her saying on September 24th, 2018, a risk assessment of your small drinking water system was conducted. Our records show that you've not been sampling your drinking water for 2 years as per the directive issued. Now, just to be fair, I did stop going to the lab we had to pay for July 2016. And then I started going to the public health unit's lab to get the water sampled after that because it's free. So she said we didn't. That's not quite true there. So as per the directive that was issued to me on August 14th, 2014, apparently. Within this directive, in bold letters, there is information regarding the consequences of not following the directive, which is an offense and may include a fine of up to $5,000 per day. Since August 14th, 2014, it now being October 2nd, 2018. Are you kidding me? Or was she talking 2 years ago, which would be 2016? Either way, it's a bit ridiculous, right? You were issued a warning notice in February 2014 regarding not sampling your water. That's when she told me that even though we'd done it for the 6 weeks in a row, every 2 weeks, we'd have to do it now every 3 months, right? Which I did for several years. And nobody ever contacted us. I didn't know if we were doing it right or doing it left. I don't know. We're doing it whatever. Nobody, like zero communication since apparently what she had said August 14th, 2014. Or maybe it was since February. I don't even remember when we spoke last, but it was a long time ago. And when I stopped going, nobody said anything. And I was actually wondering if these even existed anymore, because this is some ridiculous directive that came out of Walkerton where some drunk poisoned the water system, a bunch of people in the town died. Like, that's not us. This is our own water we drink. So during the site visit, you claimed you sample your water using the public health lab. Use of the public health lab is not permitted for small drinking water systems. And that includes like campgrounds and other small businesses, right, that run off a well. You're required to sample your water using a licensed private lab. That costs money, obviously. $55, I think it was, a pop. You also failed to provide any evidence of these water sample results because my husband hadn't dug it up yet to send it to her. Under Regulation 319, you are required to provide notification to the health unit regarding which lab you plan to use. The forms can be accessed at this website. Not only are you in the position to be charged for non-complying with your directive, Regulation 319 Small Drinking Water Systems, also has a set fine schedule. At this point in time, the following tickets apply to you for lack of compliance with sections of the regulation. So 1, operator failed to ensure sampling requirements are complied with. Clause 6.2d, set fine $245 plus $50 victim fine surcharge plus $5 court fee, which is a total fine of $300. Number 2, owner failed to obtain drinking water testing service from licensed provider, which is subsection 8.1, set fine $245, plus a victim surcharge of $50 plus a $5 court fee, total fine of $300. Samples, failed to ensure sampling and testing of water samples in accordance with assigned frequency. Section 20, set fine $245 plus $50 victim surcharge plus and then she has another $50, I'm not sure what that's supposed to be, plus a court fee of $5, so equals $300. There are additional sections of the regulation you are also currently not complying with, so additional fines may apply. So she just told me basically I owe $900 plus maybe more. Nice little thread, eh? You're required to submit your completed laboratory service notification form within 7 business days and begin sampling the well water supplying your motel using the licensed laboratory of your choice within this time frame. Now remember, she took a sample last week. All water test results are to be provided to the health unit for the next 6 months on a monthly basis. Harassment, anyone? These results may be sent to me at this email. Further non-compliance with your directive and the requirements of this letter will result in charges being laid. Now she's threatening me with something criminal. Please review the small drinking water system package left with you to ensure you understand your responsibilities in operating a small drinking water system. So don't bother getting a country property that does anything commercial, because they're going to screw you any way they can. Because all they want is your money, and they don't actually care about the public, because if they did, they would care about me too. And right now I don't feel very cared for with all these threats and harassment. She doesn't show up here for 4 years and 2 years since I did the last test, and she comes here throwing all this garbage at me. This is absolutely ridiculous. I haven't drafted the reply that I'm going to send yet. Well, I have drafted part of mine and part of my husband's, but I don't have very many nice things to say. And somewhere in there will be, I better not catch you walking on my property, I'm going to charge you with trespassing. Something like that will be in there too. But I'm pretty pissed off about this, because you can't show up after 2 years or after 4 years and then throw all this garbage at me when we talked about going down to a 2-year schedule already. And nobody bothered to say anything to me about changing that, which it should have been changed after we'd had all this substantial history of water sampling. And now she is demanding I go within the next 7 days and then every month afterwards. So for 6 months, right? So it's another $300. So charge me $900 and then another $300 on top of that. Wow, talk about money grab. And who's benefiting here? Certainly not my tenants. Certainly not me. Nobody's getting sick from our water. I have a 3-year-old daughter who drinks this water, and a lot of it too, I gotta say. This is absolutely ridiculous. Thank you, the Ontario provincial government. Thank you, Walkerton, and you drunk waterworks guy who poisoned people and made all of us who have small businesses that run on a well miserable. Thank you for that. I couldn't sleep without giving her a reply to her email. Teresa, always interesting to get communications from our, in quotes, partner in public health. If I were to treat my partner like that, I'd be hauled away on charges of abuse. Since your department hadn't bothered to get in touch with your huge concerns in 4 years, I think we can safely assume at this point that the risk to public health is pretty minimal. Because if you had a huge concern, you've been ignoring it for 2 years, your words, already. So it has evidently not been very high on your priority list in the first place. The reason for this is either that you did not consider it a serious risk, which I would agree with, or you consider it a serious risk and you failed to follow up, which is how Walkerton gets started. If we can assume that you are serious about your job, then we can also safely assume that you wouldn't have waited a couple years if you had genuine concerns. Without a genuine concern, and the hiatus of several years to voice any concerns, your current actions are plain and simple harassment. I'm afraid your records are inaccurate and your information is misinformed. If what you are saying is that you never received any water test results from us since 2014. It was a little unclear in her email. I've attached them for your perusal, which was all of them, including the one I got done at the public health, which was the free one that I got done in March this year. I was contacted by someone from the public health unit, perhaps it was February 2014, that's the date she gave me, when threats were made, and then I was never contacted again. I did comply with your water sample requirements of every 3 months for 2+ years with a private lab in Ottawa. My last one was on July 29, 2016 with that lab. The person who contacted me told me that with a water sample history, then the frequency could be reduced to every 2 years in the future. But no one ever contacted us again since 2014. No one ever asked why we stopped sampling our water with the private lab. No one ever complained that we were no longer using a private lab for our tests. And now, according to you, 4 years later, you come to us making threats and trying to fine us. That is harassment. My husband is now complaining that his blood pressure is up noticeably by the throbbing in his head and a tightness in his chest and shortness of breath. If these symptoms do not disappear quickly after sending you this reply, he will visit his doctor and get a checkup done. Considering these symptoms started immediately after receiving your threats, I am noting that fact. As I am a member of the public health applies to me and my husband as well. Partner. I do not appreciate the tone, I do not appreciate the implications, and I do not appreciate you coming up with sanctions for something that has not been in any way, shape, or form caused any victims or harm to anyone's health in the past 6 years. Our water is clean. But then again, you took a sample to test, so you know that already. We are not Walkerton. We are not irresponsible government workers who ignore problems. We live here. We drink the water. We're not going to be responsible for making 2,000 people sick and killing 6 of them. That is what governments do. That is where public health fails. And, true to form, now legislation is introduced to go after those who A, have nothing to do with this, B, have no history of harming others, C, can be easily intimidated, D, can be easily harassed, and E, are unlikely to have enough funds to defend themselves from the abuse of power being wielded. Well, congratulations on that one. You found me. Lots of make work that doesn't solve any real problems. I believe your mandate is to ensure that my tenants, and hopefully myself and family, remain safe from our well water. I don't believe your mandate is to threaten small businesses into some browbeating compliance with ridiculous threats and fines. Since this is what we continue to do since we purchased our property in 2012, treating our tenants and family with the utmost concern for their health, we will not be paying any of these fines to you or your office. The act that you are using as a hammer on us creates a burden on mom and pop businesses where you attempt to solve a problem that doesn't exist where we live. Let me have a drink of my water. Delicious. Since there was never anything found to be wrong with our water, we felt the exorbitant cost of private lab was unnecessary. Also, since no one from public health contacted us since 2014, we continued with the public health water testing system that is free to us. Also, arbitrarily assigning a drinking water testing schedule of once per month is harassment. That is unnecessarily ridiculous. Water quality doesn't change that frequently, and if you had any background in science, you would know that. I'm willing to comply with a yearly sample. Since you just took one sample last week, we should be good till next September. May I ask what lab you took this to? Do you think she took it to the place where she had to pay $55? Or do you think they just took it to their own lab, which is free for everyone to use? Yeah. I will add one more thing. By keeping our rates low, we are providing an opportunity for some folks who were previously homeless to put their lives back together. Getting folks off the street should be in the interest of public health, should it not? If we were faced with spurious and unnecessary cost increases, we will not have the opportunity to lend a helping hand to folks who need it. Not that it is surprising that Lanark Housing and Public Health are taking actions that are counteracting each other, but maybe a little bit of sense combined with a modicum of respect can go a long way improving the lives of others, including their health. All interactions that we have had with Public Health has always been inviting and respectful from our side. We have nothing to hide, and if there are problems, we will address them. That is why we immediately replaced the cap on our well for a better one, since that actually prevented a potential problem. However, if the respect and cooperation only comes from our side and results in a treatment, tone, and harassment from your side, then I believe this one-sided abusive relationship should stop sooner rather than later. To wit, if you feel the need to come onto my property, please bring a warrant, as any other attempt to access will be considered trespassing and dealt with accordingly. If you continue to harass and threaten my family and small business, I will take this to the next level. So, can we go back to something that approaches a reasonable interaction and respectful communication? Please and thank you. Yours truly. So, I sent it with all the attachments. I wasn't sure it was even going to go through. It was so big. Anyway, it's done. If you have any interactions with the government you don't like so much, please feel free to comment.